Inside the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, a holographic projection flickers. A human dreadnought fleet silently encircling their seat of power. Confusion, disbelief, and fear ripple through the gathered aliens. Meanwhile, aboard the lead human ship, Commander Mara Locke readies her fleet with cold resolve. Humanity's shadow stretches vast and terrifying. An unspoken promise in her voice seals a dark new chapter for the galaxy. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council was a cathedral of light and silence, high vaulted ceilings spiraling beyond sight, translucent panels depicting the star charts of the known galaxy, and delegates from 1,000 worlds arrayed like gods and monsters alike. At its center floated the grand holographic map, pulsing gently with the gentle hum of advanced quantum projectors. Yet tonight it pulsed differently. "Report," intoned Eldrax, the Council's arbiter, his 6 eyes narrowing as the holomap shimmered into focus. A fleet had entered the system unannounced, a fleet bearing a signature the Council had long since marked as myth, human dreadnoughts. The projection zoomed in, revealing colossal angular ships, their hulls etched with strange human sigils and battle scars from worlds only whispered of. Silent, enormous, they orbited the Council's capital station like a ring of iron wolves. "Impossible," hissed Xavier, a lithe insectoid delegate whose antennae quivered with unease. "They said Earth was quarantined, a death world. No sapient civilization could survive its hostility, let alone return." "Yet here they are," Eldrax murmured, voice tight. "Why now?" whispered Lyrax, the crystal-skinned diplomat, her voice trembling. "What do they want with us after centuries of silence?" The chamber descended into tense murmurs, voices layered with disbelief and panic. The Council's elite scientists rapidly decrypted human signals intercepted from the fleet, cryptic, brutal commands, silent pulses cutting through their encrypted defenses. The humans had disabled the Council's outer defense satellites in moments. "Dreadnoughts, they never made it this far," muttered Elder Tamlock, eyes wide with dread. "This is no ordinary attack. This is calculated vengeance." Suddenly, the projection shifted. A countdown appeared beside the fleet's largest ship, ISA 010. So, 10 minutes, the Council froze. Xavier's mandibles clicked nervously. Why the countdown? What ritual is this madness? From deep within the human dreadnought's command deck, Commander Mara Locke's face was lit by the cold blue glow of tactical readouts. She surveyed her fleet silently through a reinforced viewport. Hundreds of massive warships, engineered for one purpose, domination or annihilation. Her voice cut through calm silence, low and steady. "They call Earth a death world, a wasteland where survival is myth. Let's see if they still fear that word." Behind her, a scientist named Dr. Kelvin adjusted the nanoweave armor modulation on the hull's surface, shielding designed to shrug off plasma storms and graviton pulses alike. "The Council's arrogance cost them everything," Mara said, eyes hard as flint. "They underestimated us. They thought quarantine meant extinction. It meant evolution." Her hand rested on the console, triggering a silent pulse of electromagnetic interference. The Council's scanners flickered, blinded. The humans' cloaking tech, long thought. Primitive was a perfected nightmare. 10 minutes until 0, the tactical AI intoned. "Ready all boarding drones?" "Good," Mara said, a slow, cold smile curling on her lips. "Let them witness what Deathworlders really are." Back in the Council chamber, the hologram faded into darkness, replaced by the flickering insignia of the human dreadnoughts, an unspoken war banner of rage and survival. Eldrax's voice broke the silence. "They feared the word Deathworld. Then human dreadnoughts surrounded the Council." His final words echoed like a death knell. The countdown ticks down. The alien Council struggles to respond to the unprecedented human offensive. The humans' advanced cloaking and electromagnetic warfare blind alien sensors, sowing chaos. Commander Mara Locke orders silent boarding operations. A young alien scientist begins to question their old assumptions about humanity's brutal evolution. The threat of annihilation tightens and dread deepens across the galaxy. The Grand Chamber had become a war room in moments. Delegates scrambled to access emergency communication nodes. Eldrax barked orders, his voice a whip cutting through panic. Restore sensor arrays, attempt to jam their signal. But the human fleet was already beyond normal reach. Outside, the void shimmered, distorted by the human ship's perfected cloaking nanotech, bending gravitational waves and electromagnetic fields around their hulls like a dark mirage. "Systems offline," reported a technician, voice cracking as console lights blinked red. "EMP pulses. Scrambling arrays. We can't see them." Lyrax's crystal facets shimmered, her mind racing. "They wield technology no one else has. It's beyond anything we catalogued." Nearby, a younger scientist, Dr. Hazin, shook, his head in disbelief. "We wrote them off as a primitive Deathworld species, but this is evolutionary terror incarnate." Eldrax's eyes blazed with fury and fear. "They came back for retribution, and we stand naked." On the bridge of the Dreadnought Titan's wrath, Mara Locke's hands moved swiftly over holographic schematics. "Deploy the boarding swarms," she commanded. Nanobot drones, coated in adaptive alloys and armed with micrograviton cutters, spilled into space like metallic swarms of hornets, invisible to alien radars. "Silent and lethal," Mara whispered. "They won't know what hit them until it's too late." At her side, Dr. Kelvin frowned, fingers dancing across a secondary console. The Council never expected humanity's nanotech to function in vacuum and high radiation zones. "We've adapted it to their worst environments. The Deathworld itself was our crucible." The Dreadnought's hull trembled slightly as the drones disengaged. Silence was their ally. Inside the Council chamber, Eldrax's communicator crackled. "Contact. With outer outposts severed, boarding drones detected on auxiliary satellites," a voice reported. The tension became a physical thing, thick and suffocating. Lyrax clenched her fists. "We underestimated their will to survive, and their fury." Eldrax's voice hardened. "Prepare countermeasures. If we fall here, the entire council dissolves." Meanwhile, aboard the human fleet, a junior officer reported, "Scanners confirm multiple council ships incapacitated by nanodrone infestations. The council's leaders are isolated." Mara's lips tightened. "Good. Isolation breaks unity." She turned to her executive officer, Captain Juno Riek. "Make no mistake, this is not a battle, it's judgment." Juno nodded, eyes fierce. "And mercy is a weapon we wield only once victory is certain." In the council chamber, the oldest diplomat, Elder Tamlock, leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. "Why are they like this? Why did the Deathworld breed warriors rather than victims?" Hazin's gaze darkened. "Because the galaxy betrayed them first." As the countdown reached its final minutes, dread weighed on the council like a living thing, cold, silent, unstoppable. Outside, Mara Locke's voice sliced the void. "Let them know what Deathworlds breed. Let them learn fear." The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The boarding drones infiltrate the Council's defenses, sparking chaos and destruction. Alien leaders confront the shocking ferocity and ruthless tactics of the humans. Mara Locke and her officers coordinate surgical strikes to cripple the Council's command, while a Council scientist secretly doubts their century-old prejudice against humanity. The line between myth and reality blurs as the Deathworld legacy unfolds. The Council's capital station was a fortress of crystal spires and metallic arches, designed to awe and intimidate. But now that majesty was crumbling. Aboard the station's outer defense ring, alarms screamed as nano-drone swarms tore through sensors and weapon nodes, disabling turrets with ruthless precision. The silence that followed was worse. An eerie, oppressive void. Eldrax's voice cut through the chaos over the emergency channel, sharp and cold. "Hold your ground. Deploy countermeasures." But the countermeasures barely materialized. The drones moved too fast, reprogramming automated defenses and turning them against the Council's own ships. Inside the Council chamber, panic rippled visibly among the delegates. Xavier's mandibles quivered. How can such primitive beings wield such power? This is witchcraft, not warfare. Lyrax's voice was grim. They've been forged by suffering. Their Deathworld is a crucible of evolution and rage. In a darkened laboratory deep within the station, Dr. Hizin stared at encrypted transmissions intercepted from the human fleet. "They are not savages," he muttered, voice shaking. "They are something beyond what we understood." Across space, the human dreadnought Titan's Wrath pulsed with life. Commander Mara Locke's eyes scanned incoming data streams, mapping the disarray of the Council's defenses. "Prepare boarding teams for the capital station," she ordered. "We cut their head from the body." Captain Juno Reek responded crisply. "Understood, Commander. Silent insertion protocols engaged. We move like ghosts." The docking clamps engaged with barely a sound. Mara stepped into the airlock, breathing. Steady but heart-pounding, her voice was steel. "Remember what they did. Remember what they lost. This is justice." Within the corridors of the station, alien soldiers scrambled to respond, but the human boarding parties moved like shadows, exploiting every weakness. A council general, weapons drawn, confronted a squad of humans. "Surrender! Your resistance is futile!" A human soldier's voice echoed coldly. "You thought death worlds were death sentences. We turned it into a legacy." Explosions rocked the halls as the humans advanced relentlessly. Back in the council chamber, Eldrax's composure shattered as a drone infiltrated the communication core. "This ends now," Eldrax growled. "For the galaxy." Dr. Hazin's whisper cut through the despair. "No, it's only just beginning." Outside, the stars blinked cold witness as the Deathworlders claimed their place. Human boarding teams systematically dismantled the Council's defenses, while alien leaders face the shattering reality of their failures. Mara Locke recalls the brutal conditions that forged humanity's resolve on their Deathworld home, revealing the ruthless pragmatism behind their vengeance. Meanwhile, Dr. Hazin's growing doubts ignite a quiet internal rebellion within the Council's ranks, hinting at shifting alliances amid the chaos. The corridors of the capital station ran like veins through a great metallic beast alive with the frantic clamor of battle. Explosions echoed behind every bulkhead, and the acrid scent of burnt circuitry hung in the air. Captain Juno Reek led her team with clinical precision, their steps ghostly silent beneath the thrum of combat. "Clear. Left," Juno whispered, cutting down an alien guard who lunged with a plasma blade. "Move forward." Inside the council chamber, Eldrax's hands trembled on the console, his multiple eyes darting over the failing security grids. "How could they break through so quickly?" Xavier clenched his clawed fists. "We always assumed their death world was a curse, a barren wasteland. But it is a forge. It made them monsters." Dr. Hazin shook his head, his voice quiet but fierce. "No, not monsters. Survivors. Warriors. They learned to bleed without breaking." Outside the station, Mara Locke stared at a grainy hologram of Earth, her home, a hellscape of radioactive storms, toxic swamps, and endless conflict. "They called it a death world," she murmured. "They never saw the strength it gave us." "Every scar on this ship," she said, tapping the metal hull of the Titan's Wrath, "is a promise. We survived the impossible, and now so will our revenge." The boarding teams pushed deeper into the Council's nerve center, neutralizing communications arrays and command nodes with ruthless efficiency. Alien resistance slowed, fractured by fear and confusion. Within the Council chamber, a hush fell. Eldrax's voice was brittle. "They dismantle us piece by piece." Dr. Hazin stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly. "Or perhaps they dismantle the lies we built around them." A murmur rippled through the Council, some confused, some hopeful. Mara's voice came through a hacked channel, steady and resolute. "We do not seek annihilation, we seek balance. Mercy will come, but only after the reckoning." Outside, the stars burned cold and indifferent, witnessing the rise of a species once written off as lost. The Council's unity fractures under the relentless human assault. Internal divisions rise as some delegates argue for surrender, while others cling to pride and denial. Dr. Hazin secretly contacts Mara, seeking an uneasy alliance. Mara weighs mercy against total dominance, revealing the complex calculus of humanity's vengeance. The battle is as much psychological as physical. The once mighty council chamber now echoed with discord. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices sharp and desperate. Shavir's antennae twitched erratically. "We must fight to the last. To yield is to invite annihilation." Lyrax's crystal skin dimmed. "And yet what if surrender saves thousands? What if pride blinds us more than the humans ever could?" Eldrax's voice cut through the chaos, but even his authority faltered. "There is no middle ground. We face extinction." In a shadowed alcove, Dr. Hazin's hands trembled as he activated a clandestine comlink to the human fleet. "This is Hazin of the Council." His voice cracked. "I seek parley. The Council's defeat is inevitable." The reply was swift and cold. "State your terms." Meanwhile, on the Titan's wrath, Mara Locke's eyes narrowed. "An alliance," she mused. "Mercy is a weapon, not a weakness." Captain Juno Riek leaned close. "You trust a council scientist? After everything?" Mara's gaze hardened. "Trust is irrelevant. This war is bigger than vengeance now." Back in the council, Eldrax stormed toward Hazin's quarters. "You betray us," he spat. Hazin met his gaze steadily. "I betray your arrogance. Humanity's survival is a message. Adapt or perish." Outside, the battle outside the stations, Core raged on, nanodrones disabling systems, human boarding parties dismantling the Council's last lines of defense. The psychological siege began to crack the Council's foundation. Mara whispered into the comm, "Let them see the price of underestimating Deathworlders." The stars watched, indifferent yet witness to a reckoning far beyond mere conquest. A fragile truce forms as Dr. Hazin negotiates with Mara Locke, exposing cracks in the Council's resolve. Meanwhile, human dreadnoughts prepare to deliver their final blow, balancing ruthless efficiency with a surprising offer of mercy. Alien leaders wrestle with their fading power, haunted by centuries of prejudice and betrayal. The true cost of the Deathworld legacy begins to reveal itself. The Council chamber was a shattered mirror of former grandeur. Cracks ran through the polished floors, and shattered light cascaded in fractured patterns across the shattered council seats. Eldrax's once commanding presence was now reduced to a haunted figure, pacing restlessly. "You parley with the enemy and betray our race." Dr. Hazin met his gaze, calm and unyielding. "I parley to save what remains. The Council's hubris has doomed us." Elsewhere, a secure holographic channel flickered to life aboard the Titan's wrath. Mara Locke's face appeared stern, but not unkind. "We offer terms. Surrender your claim to the Deathworld systems. Recognize Earth's sovereignty, and mercy will be extended." The council delegates erupted in protest, but Hazin raised a hand. "This is not weakness, this is survival." "Your terms are generous," Lyrax admitted reluctantly. "But can we trust humans after centuries of silence and exile?" Mara's voice was steady, the weight of countless battles underlying each word. Trust is earned, but know this. Our Deathworld forged us to be both hunters and guardians. Outside the chamber, human dreadnoughts repositioned, cloaking fields, shimmering faintly as tactical systems prepared for decisive strikes. Captain Juno Reek stood ready. This ends soon. Our mercy is as calculated as our firepower. Back on the Council Station, alien soldiers gathered, whispers of hope and fear blending. Eldrax closed his eyes. Maybe the galaxy will learn from this. Or maybe we are all doomed to repeat our mistakes. Dr. Hazin's voice cut through the tension. Softer now. The Deathworld is not just a place of death. It is a crucible of rebirth. The stars beyond, cold and indifferent, bore silent witness as the fragile truce held, balanced on a knife's edge. Maralock reflects on humanity's brutal history on the Deathworld, revealing the merciless trials that forge their will to dominate. Alien delegates wrestle with the weight of betrayal and lost opportunities for peace. Meanwhile, boarding parties secure key positions, tightening the noose around the Council. The past's harsh lessons fuel humanity's unyielding resolve to reshape the galaxy's power balance. Inside the command deck of Titan's Wrath, Mara stood before a panoramic viewport. Below lay the scarred surface of Earth, once called a Deathworld by the galaxy, now the cradle of humanity's relentless fury. Centuries of storms that tore continents apart, Mara murmured to herself. Toxic skies that burned lungs, predators that hunted like nightmares. We survived by becoming more than prey. We became the hunters. Behind her, Captain Juno, Reek shifted, eyes steely. Our enemies see only the scars. They don't understand the fire beneath. Mara nodded. They feared the word Deathworld because they knew it meant sacrifice, pain, evolution. Meanwhile, in the fractured council chamber, delegates debated in fractured tongues. Xavier snarled, antennae twitching. We condemned them as beasts, then condemned ourselves to ruin. Lyrax's voice was softer, laden with regret. Could we have reached them? Could we have saved ourselves from this? Dr. Hazin moved quietly through the crowd, a silent witness to the unraveling. Pride. His whispered words to Eldrax were heavy. The galaxy's blindness blinded us all. Back on the station's lower decks, human boarding parties systematically disabled control nodes, their efficiency terrifying even their own. Clear the sector, ordered Juno. No hesitation, no mercy, unless it furthers the mission. Mara's voice echoed over comms, cold but resolute. They tried to cage us in exile. Now the cage is broken. Outside, the Council's once proud fleet was all but crippled, caught between human ruthlessness and an ancient legacy they never fully grasped. The stars held their silent vigil as fire from the Deathworld illuminated the path of humanity's vengeance. The human assault fractures the Council's defenses, forcing desperate alien commanders into risky gambits. Mara Locke balances cold strategy with moments of reflection, revealing the complex psychology behind humanity's unrelenting pursuit of justice. Dr. Hazin faces betrayal from his own people as he deepens his alliance with humans, raising the stakes for both sides. The silence before the final storm grows heavier. The station's corridors echoed with distant alarms, punctuated by the sharp, precise footsteps of human boarding teams. Captain Juno Reek led a squad through a shattered control room, her rifle trained on the shadows. Secure the relay nodes. The Council's communications must die with this place. In a hidden alcove, Dr. Hazin stared at the flickering holograms of battle data. His mind raced as betrayal whispered through the council halls like a poison. They call me traitor, he murmured bitterly, but I choose survival over blind pride. Suddenly, a council officer stormed in. They found your comlink. You endanger us all. Hazin's voice was steady. No, I offer a chance, for mercy, for peace. They are not monsters, but the reckoning. Meanwhile, Mara Locke sat alone in the command chamber, watching sensor feeds flicker between calm and chaos. Her voice was soft, almost distant. Why do they fear us? Because we are what the galaxy refused to understand. Captain Juno approached, breaking the silence. Because we remind them of their failures. Mara nodded slowly. And we will remind them of our strength. The boarding teams pushed deeper, disabling energy cores with ruthless precision. Alien resistance grew desperate, fire and rage mingling in a violent dance. Within the council chamber, Eldrax's composure shattered as the realization settled in. Humanity was no longer just a legend. They were the inevitable future. Dr. Hazin's quiet words echoed. Sometimes, survival demands breaking the silence. Outside, the stars waited, holding breath for the final reckoning. The Council mounts a desperate final defense as the human dreadnoughts tighten their grip. Mara Locke confronts the bitter costs of victory, while alien leaders face the collapse of centuries-old power structures. Dr. Hazin wrestles with the consequences of his choices, caught between loyalty and survival. The battle crescendos toward an uncertain fate. The Council's capital station groaned under the assault. Shattered panels sparked, and corridors flooded with emergency lighting flickering like dying stars. Eldrax stood at the forefront, rallying the remaining defenders. "Hold the core, for the legacy of our race," Shavir growled, plasma weapons blazing, cutting down the advancing boarding parties. But every moment felt like sand slipping through clenched fingers. In a command chamber far below, Dr. Hazin activated a silent beacon, a last plea for ceasefire and negotiation. His voice trembled as he broadcasted, "We acknowledge defeat. We seek terms, not extinction." On the bridge of Titan's Wrath, Mara Locke listened, her expression unreadable. "Terms," she echoed softly. "Mercy is not weakness, it's calculated power." Captain Juno Reek eyed the approaching council. "Flagship," her voice cold. "They're running out of time." Mara's gaze hardened. "So are we." Outside, the stars flickered as plasma and nanotech clashed in silent fury. The Deathworlders fought with desperate ferocity, but humanity's resolve was absolute. In the council chamber, Eldrax's voice cracked. "We are the architects of our own ruin." Dr. Hazin's whisper was softer than a prayer. "Or the architects of a new beginning." As the final boarding party secured control, Mara's voice rang out across the void. "This is not the end, it is the dawn." As the dust settles, Mara Locke offers terms that shake the council to its core, an offer of mercy coupled with strict conditions. The alien leaders must reckon with their failure and the unexpected humanity behind their conquerors. Dr. Hazin faces the heavy burden of betrayal and hope as new alliances form amid shattered loyalties. The aftermath begins, but the cost is far from over. The council chamber was heavy with silence, broken only by the low hum of emergency systems. Delegates gathered, shadows long and faces pale. Mara Locke's image flickered across the central hologram, her voice calm but resolute. "The war is over, your defeat is absolute, but mercy is ours to grant." Eldrax's eyes burned with fury and disbelief. "Why should we trust a species that nearly destroyed us?" Mara's reply was sharp. "Because we are not your executioners, we are your reckoning. Surrender your claims, disarm your fleets, and live. Resist, and the Deathworld legacy will be the last sound you hear." Dr. Hazin stepped forward, voice steady but heavy. "This mercy demands sacrifice, of pride, of hatred. It is the only path forward." Whispers filled the chamber. Some hopeful, some bitter. Outside, human dreadnoughts maintained a vigilant watch, cloaking fields shimmering faintly. Captain Juno Reek spoke quietly to Mara. They will never forgive. Will they accept peace?" Mara's gaze was hard, yet there was a hint of weariness. "They have no choice. Survival demands it. The stars outside were cold, indifferent witnesses to the fragile truce. But beneath the surface, old wounds and new grudges simmered, ready to ignite the next chapter. The fragile truce fractures as old resentments and secret agendas resurface. Mara Locke confronts betrayals from within her own ranks, while the Council's remnants plot desperate resistance. Dr. Hazin walks a perilous path between two worlds, struggling to forge a lasting peace. The weight of history crashes down, and the galaxy teeters on the edge of a new order, forged through fire and sacrifice. The once glorious council chamber, scarred by battle and betrayal, was thick with tension. Shadows stretched long across the cracked floors, reflecting the fractured state of the alien delegates. The air was dense with whispered accusations and veiled threats, a fragile truce held by threads of exhaustion and uncertainty. Mara Locke's holographic image dominated the center of the chamber, her eyes piercing through the flickering lights. "This ceasefire is not a gift," she declared evenly. "It is a warning. Any attempt to undermine peace will be met with overwhelming force." The assembled delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Eldrax, once a proud warlord, now seemed diminished, his many eyes clouded with doubt and fury. "You speak of peace while your fleets encircle us like vultures. You offer mercy, yet wield it like a blade." Mara's voice sharpened. "Mercy is earned through surrender and cooperation, not rebellion." From the shadows, a chilling voice cut through the murmur. Xavier stepped forward, his mandibles clicking with venomous intent. "We will never bow to those who branded our worlds as Deathworlds and left us to die in exile." The room erupted into chaos, delegates shouting over one another, old grudges resurfacing with renewed ferocity. Dr. Hazin raised his hands, trying to restore order. "Enough! If we fracture now, we lose everything. Humanity's mercy may be harsh, but it is the only path to survival." But even his voice wavered under the weight of betrayal. Reports had come through. The Council's most loyal factions were preparing to break the ceasefire, seeking to ignite a guerrilla war that could consume entire star systems. Back on the Titan's wrath, Mara's face was grim as she watched the unrest unfold through hacked surveillance feeds. "The old order dies screaming," she whispered, "and we must be ready for the ashes it leaves behind." Captain Juno Reek's tone was tense but pragmatic. If the Council fractures, their rogue elements could become more dangerous than the fleet ever was. Mara nodded slowly. "We must strike decisively, but with precision. Total war isn't our goal. Control is." The weight of leadership pressed down on her like the crushing gravity of a black hole. Every decision was a balance between mercy and ruthlessness, between peace and annihilation. Meanwhile, in the dim corridors of the Council station, Dr. Hazin met with a small faction of defectors, those willing to embrace the new order and work with humanity. "We cannot afford to be prisoners of our past," Hazin urged quietly. "If we survive this, it will be because we change, not because we fight." One of the defectors, a young delegate named Vel Khan, nodded slowly. "Your people's strength is terrifying. But maybe there is a future worth fighting for, if we are wise enough to seize it." Yet the bitter truth lingered. Not all would survive this war of ideologies and power. That night, a covert strike team loyal to Xavier infiltrated the Council's secure archives, intent on destroying the treaty data and reigniting hostilities. The alarms blared, just as Mara's boarding team swept in, intercepting the saboteurs with ruthless efficiency. In the midst of the firefight, Mara's voice crackled over the comms. "This is your last warning. We came for peace, but we will not hesitate to bring war." Xavier's final words before capture echoed with defiance. "You cannot kill a spirit with chains. Deathworlders will rise again." The statement hung heavy in the air, a reminder that the legacy of the past was not easily buried. As dawn crept over the station's horizon, The fragile piece balanced precariously on a knife's edge. Mara and Dr. Hazin stood together in the war room, both weary but resolute. "We are rebuilding from ruins," Mara said softly. "But even ruins can become the foundation of empires." Hazin nodded, the hope in his eyes tinged with the scars of betrayal and loss. "Then let us make sure the future is one worth living for." Outside, the stars burned cold and distant, indifferent to the fate of empires, but witnesses to the birth of a new era. The final confrontation reshapes the galaxy's balance of power as humanity solidifies its dominion over the Council remnants. Mara Locke and Dr. Hazin navigate fragile peace and the costs of victory. The Deathworld legacy transforms from a curse into a beacon of evolution and resilience. As old orders crumble, a new empire emerges, born from fire, sacrifice, and unyielding will. The final hours stretch thin over the shattered council station like a suffocating veil. Silence pressed against every corridor, heavy with the breath of those who awaited the inevitable. Mara Locke stood alone before the vast viewport, the swirling nebulae outside glowing faintly, their colors muted by the scars of war. Below the station, the remnants of the Council fleet drifted, crippled and broken. The last echoes of defiance were fading like dying embers. Captain Juno Riek joined her, voice low but steady. "The Council's hold is broken. They've lost more than ships. They've lost their future." Mara didn't turn. "The future isn't given, it's taken, and we will take it with open hands and iron fists." Her gaze sharpened. "This is more than a conquest. It's a reckoning." Inside the command chamber, Dr. Hazin surveyed the captured council delegates, their faces a mix of fear, bitterness, and reluctant hope. He stepped forward, voice clear but weighted. "We are at a crossroads. The galaxy has judged us all, humans and aliens alike. It is time to build or to burn." The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. The bitterness of past betrayals lingered, but so did the undeniable truth of their defeat. Xavier, imprisoned and defiant, sneered from his guarded cell. "You will never tame Deathworlders. Our fury is eternal." Mara's reply was ice. "You are free to rage in chains, but the galaxy moves forward, with or without you." Outside, the Council's old guard was broken, but factions stirred, whispering of rebellion and revenge. The fragile peace was a seed planted in shattered soil, one that would demand vigilance and sacrifice. Back on Earth, the Deathworld itself seemed to breathe in time with humanity's triumph. The storm still raged, the predators still prowled, but now they were a part of something greater, an evolving empire forged from hardship and unyielding will. Mara convened the first assembly of the new Galactic Accord, a council formed of humans and alien delegates willing to embrace a new era. Her opening words resonated through the chamber. "We are not conquerors, we are custodians. The Deathworld forged us in fire and survival. Now we must forge the galaxy in unity and strength." Dr. Hazin, standing beside her, added, "The past will not be forgotten, but it will no longer define us. Together we write a new legacy." As the delegates nodded and murmured assent, the camera of history zoomed out, revealing the vast expanse of stars beyond. A new empire was rising, one born from death, but destined for rebirth. The final shot lingered on Mara's resolute face, eyes reflecting both the harsh past and the limitless future. Her last words echoed in the silence. "We feared the word Deathworld, but now the galaxy fears the name of humanity." The end.